Alright guys, we are back with some more Monster Energy Supercross 25 early gameplay. Today we've got 2025 Daytona, which is really awesome because if you can remember, in past Supercross games, we always got the Daytona from the year before, but this year we get the 2025 season, which means we get the 2025 Daytona, the same Daytona that they'll be racing on this year, which is really, really awesome. So I think one of the coolest things for me right now, because I get to play the game a little bit early, is that I'm really curious to see, what we have in the game here and then what they do in real life, because obviously the track had to be made for the game before the track was built in real life, right? So probably we'll see some differences, but overall, this track is super fun. I mean, usually Daytona in Supercross games ends up being one of the better, more fun tracks anyways, and then you add in that it's Daytona, probably, I mean, Anaheim 1 and Daytona are like the two huge races of the year, maybe Salt Lake because it's a finale, but Daytona, big race, bunches of hype. We're going to have a new race winner. Right, we're going to have a new race winner this year in the 450 class, which is pretty cool to see who ends up winning that. But I kind of want to talk about the track. So the first laps here were probably the better ones I had, just trying to throw some whips and hit some better lines. Now, Daytona does have, in my opinion, some different lines you can take. Here we go, triple, and then we kind of double into the sand. Now, we have a split lane. In my opinion, it was easier to take the outside, which becomes the inside, because you can triple up onto this 180 a little bit easier, in my opinion. Now, this is the other rhythm section. Here I go triple, but then double. I pretty much tripled and then doubled over that single jump onto the start straight. We did case one time. But I really feel like it would be probably possible if you were a better player, if you hit it just right. But for me, it was pretty difficult. But definitely feels like there would be some line choice there. Here we have a Supercross triple. And then this rhythm section would be the other rhythm section that for sure has a different line you could take in it. I chose to step on, step off, and then triple. It was probably the smoothest. It felt pretty fast. It was just really consistent to do. But you could jump all the way over that table, which would give you a different timing through it. Then we have a pretty big double. We have a wall. Now, you can send that wall for a double, but you go so high in the air, I don't feel like that would be the best way to do it. So, those were probably the better laps that I had. Here we go into some other ones, and I kind of want to go back to the sand section. I really feel like that section is really tough. The sand section and then the rhythm after it were, in my opinion, the most difficult, because all this was pretty much the fastest way to do it would be to triple. But in my opinion here at the sand, it was easier to double over those two rollers and then have the momentum in third gear to triple into the corner. So that was pretty tough. And then this rhythm section where I was talking about, where I went triple and then tripled again, kind of, and then you could double over that single. Those were like the two toughest sections on the track, in my opinion. But overall, I mean, I've seen the track map, so according to the map, the track is pretty accurate, right? Pretty accurate. It doesn't mean that, for the actual race, they won't, change a section or whatever, but it's really cool because I kind of wanted to talk about this as well, that in years past, we've had the Daytona from the year before, but not this year. For this game, Supercross 25, we get the 2025 Daytona. But in past years, when, I usually like to use a track editor and then build the replica, for the coming weekend, the week before. So with Daytona, we are always trying to squeeze it. I was always trying to squeeze it into the biggest outdoor stadium. And it didn't really work. Sometimes I had to go back to past games and try and, build the track diagonally because it gave you the most room, because Daytona is at a speedway on the infield, so it isn't really meant to be fit into a football stadium in the game. But sometimes we could make it work. But again, coming back to it, it's really cool because we don't have to do it this year. We get the actual current 2025 Daytona, which is really cool. So overall, the track, the design is pretty cool. I mean, we've seen this, as far as the design of the track, the actual layout, we have seen it. You have the start cutting the track in half, and then we have this S turning back and forth, but we have some really big doubles. We have some interesting rhythm sections. This year we don't, sometimes you have that just kind of mogul section or the offset jumps, whatever. Some people call them carrot jumps or whatever. We don't have any this year. It doesn't mean they won't change it, but at least according to the track map, it isn't that way. So Daytona, really fun in the game. It came out really well. I feel like it was scaled well. I know some people have talked about the rolled off jumps and stuff, and I would agree, maybe adding some peakiness to some of the jumps in the rhythm section would allow for, maybe hitting some more triples, because there are some spots where I really feel like we'll triple in, but then we have to go double, and it doesn't feel like that's the way that it'll be done in real life. I mean, if they're going to hit a double, usually they'll hit, I mean, not always, but usually they'll hit the double early going in, and then triple or whatever out, and not go triple and then double, triple, double. So, my best example would be the rhythm section after the sand section, where a lot of the times I had to go triple, double, single. I just don't feel like it will necessarily be that way. And then coming back to, if you were to add some peakiness, to the jumps, one of the jumps even. So you go triple and then maybe add more of a peak to the fourth jump. It would be easier to try to triple again. And I feel like that would probably be a little bit, more realistic. But overall, I mean, the jumps aren't all the same in the rhythm section. You know how in real life they have the shorter jumps, and they like to jump over I don't know what those are, the 3-footers, 4-footers, 5-footers. I don't know exactly the measurements on it, but they want to jump over those taller ones. So these rhythm sections are built very similar, even if they are kind of rolled off. The Supercross triples probably could have a bit more of a peak to them. But again, I don't know if I've talked about it, but I'm okay with having some more peaked jumps in the game and not having them just be so rolled off. But I don't want to see, Supercross 4 had really, really steep peaked jumps, really wide. I feel like the width of the tracks and the scaling in that sense is pretty good. Maybe the corners, I think some people have mentioned the corners where the 180s maybe feel a little bit flat. If they could, raise them up going to the top of the berm, maybe that would help a little bit. Not have it feel so flat. And then again, maybe add a little bit of sharpness, steepness to some of the jumps in the rhythm sections. I mean, the Supercross triples feel pretty rolled, as well as some of these huge doubles, but you still, it's a pretty big send, right? You still get that big double that goes across the start straight, you still get a pretty serious lift off of it. So, I don't know. That isn't the biggest concern to me, with the scaling. I would say the corners, having them be a little bit steeper, and not be so flat, especially the 180s would probably, be something I'd prefer to see if they were to change anything. But overall, even with the rolled off jumps, I feel like the rhythms work pretty good. And Daytona, for example, here, I'm not going to talk about every track that I got to play, but Daytona, for example, even if we hit the same rhythm, it was just because that was the preferred way I wanted to take it. But there are other rhythms out there, even if they are difficult. And when we get to the end here, you'll see I'm taking the outside on the sand. And I know I wasn't hitting the sand that great there, but it made it really, really difficult to jump up onto that raised 180. And obviously you can tell that was way slower. So overall, definitely feels like there's some line choice out here, and Daytona was super fun. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Who do you think is going to win Daytona? Well, I don't really know when you're going to see this video, so maybe Daytona already happened. I'm hoping I can show it before then, but if Daytona happened, then totally disregard that that question, I guess. So you guys and girls are absolutely amazing. Thanks so much for the support on the channel lately. It really does mean a lot. And until the next video, take it easy.